right, ladies and gentlemen. Dave and Alex.
The Pop 10.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pop 10 for July of 2017. I, of course, am your host, Dave Solo, and I'm broadcasting from my favorite place on earth, Universal Orlando Resort, right here in the Radio Broadcast Center. And, of course, the show wouldn't sound the way it does without my man Bob on the ones and the twos. And this is the Pop 10 number 10. So we had to do something special for this show. And usually it's myself and a co-host, but there are two gentlemen who I just could not resist begging on my hands and knees to come co-hosts with me. So you're not getting two hosts, you're getting three. Of course, again, I'm Dave Solo, and I'm joined by the amazing twosome from Fueled by Deathcast. Of course, I'm talking about the incredible Jeff and the amazing D-Man. How you doing, guys?
Hi.
Howdy.
Yeah.
We're doing really good. We're very excited to be here.
We're only like half a man each, so
We're a full man.
You still got like a two-host thing going on,
Which is fine, right? I like it. I'm
Yeah.
happy. You guys,
me too.
we've known each other, through, again, the person that everyone in the world is connected by, Ming Chen, for a while.
Ming Chen.
Ming.
Oh yeah.
But I met you both in person for the first time at Walker StalkerCon Nashville, and that was your first show.
And that was magical, man. I couldn't believe how awesome that convention was, and not only because the convention was awesome, but everybody working it was amazing. And also, I got to meet the legendary Dave Solo.
Yeah, it was the first thought must have been I would have sworn he would have been taller. Probably right. I get that all the time, but it's fine. And when we were there, we enjoyed some amazing Death Wish coffee. You guys had like a vendor booth. You guys were doing panels. You guys were like me for a weekend, and
it was nuts.
It was great. Yeah. So let's talk about. So you host Fueled by Deathcast, which is the official podcast of Death Wish Coffee. And for those folks out there that don't know Death Wish Coffee, right, in 2012, Death Wish was started in a small coffee shop in Saratoga Springs, New York. Founder Mike Brown saw a need for coffee that was both strong and delicious to serve his groggy morning customers. And after that, he perfected the ultimate blend of beans, combining it with a unique roasting technique. And then the world's strongest coffee was born at Death Wish Coffee. How did you guys get involved with Death Wish Coffee?
Well, I started about 2 years back. I'm pretty much friends with everybody here to begin with. So when it came to time for, I needed some employment, I was like, yo, Death Wish, need some help? And they did. They needed a lot of help. So I was happy to come here. And, I started on the low end just packing packages, but I immediately found a need for somebody to do a few more things around the house. So now I'm a full-blown team member, making things happen around here, going out to a lot of conventions, counting a lot of beans. And then Jeff came in probably...
God, I've only been here for a little over 4 months now, 4.5 months now.
Yeah,
officially.
We were doing the podcast before that, and Jeff wasn't officially working here, but Death Wish Coffee wanted the podcast done. So we brought on Jeff, and I was doing that with him at the time until it obviously became a need that we needed Jeff full time.
Yeah, basically, I started working, again, I know a lot of the guys here too, we're all good friends, and I started working with them, the company, about 1.5 years ago as a consultant, because Death Wish is amazing. They're not just a coffee company. They want to caffeinate the world, but they also want to be a lifestyle brand for everybody, every type of thing that you love. And so they started contacting me to try and see if they could get into the comic book world. And so I started setting them up with some creators and actually helped them get into some conventions last year. And I think the ball I took the ball and kind of ran with it. And like Dustin said, we started a podcast kind of for the company before I ever even joined full-time, and then it just became a full-time job without me even knowing it. And now I'm here officially.
Yeah, well, look, it's great to have you two hosting your podcast, Fueled by Deathcast. It's great to have you on the Pop 10, and we just have a nice long list of amazing pop culture items to discuss. So without further ado, let's get into the countdown.
Number 10.
So, gentlemen, I don't know if you're like me, but every now and then I enjoy the Game of Thrones on HBO, and it just came back to TV for Season 7, and what an episode it was. So, did both of you gentlemen watch Game of Thrones, and if so, what were your thoughts on this season's premiere?
Totally watched it.
I've always said there's only two moments on television: when Game of Thrones is running and when Game of Thrones is not running.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I watched it.
And
my initial thoughts were, I'm so excited for it to be back. Unfortunately, like we all know as fans of the show, this is a truncated season, just like next season. Instead of giving us one huge, long farewell season, they're milking it for all it's worth, and we get, I believe, 7 episodes this season.
Milk it. I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him all day.
But I thought it was really, really excellent. Are we before I continue though? Are we going spoiler free or spoiler heavy?
No. This, if you haven't watched the premiere episode of Game of Thrones, in my opinion, you're probably not a diehard fan. But plug your ears, earmuffs, go pause this and watch it. We're gonna go spoiler all the way. Whatever you want to say.
All right.
Good.
Well, one of my favorite characters on the show since day one has been Arya Stark. Maisie Williams kills it as that character. I freaking love her, and that whole opening sequence, just the best. I was so excited. I watched it 3 times. I rewound it and watched it 2 more times before I even kept going.
Nice.
Yeah.
The open was good, but go ahead, continue.
No, what were you saying?
The open was good, and I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed that they didn't come in with a war, that they came in with that kind of scene, and there was a little bit of indication for us as fans. But I like Game of Thrones, but see, for me, I was coming off of last season where I think 2 amazing episodes that could have been a movie don't make a show the best show in the world. I thought the rest of the season was kind of slow. 13 different storylines at the same time means you get 2-3 minutes of each. So that I had some issues with it. And the open was great, but in my opinion, I think it was kind of downhill from there on the first episode.
I am totally with you. I felt like the rest of the episode really kind of lagged. I know you disagree with me.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to disagree with both of you. I don't know. There's not a dull moment for me in Game of Thrones. I loved every second of it, especially now that we're starting to see Daenerys get
to Westeros. Yeah.
This is awesome.
That was really great.
And we have a lead on Dragonglass.
Yeah.
Come on, that's awesome.
That was awesome.
And I thought that whole scene with Sam, where he is now, I thought that was a magical, horrible, disgusting scene. I thought it was great.
It turned my stomach, but that was really good. I mean, it's cool to see.
But in summation, you're both horribly wrong. It was awesome.
Fair enough. The Pop 9
I
is.
I just felt that the ending, the idea to take 2 characters like Daenerys and Tyrion, have them make it back to Westeros, and then make it to Dragonstone, and take that entire 5-minute sequence and not do any dialogue from 2 of the greatest people that do dialogue, I thought was a misstep. I really do.
You got to have your yin with your yang, man.
Yes.
Be grateful.
Yeah, it's a little rough when the ying's too big. But the thing for me was, I want to talk about the red-haired, tattooed elephant in the room, and that's when we heard singing, and then Ed Sheeran was sitting there. I got to know your thoughts on this, because for me, if there has not been a jump the shark moment in this show, this was it, and it took me completely out.
That is exactly what I said out loud when I watched it for the first time. I don't understand why a show like Game of Thrones needs to jump the shark. I understand when a sitcom does it, and especially something that has been on for 7, 8, 9 seasons, and you bring in, I always think back to, say Friends, and they had Brad Pitt on, and it was like, oh my God, and that actually worked in the storyline, and it was putting a movie star in a television show.
Yeah.
And Game of Thrones has had some cameos. In fact, one of Dustin and my favorite cameos is the band Mastodon. Yeah, Mastodon was in the sequence of the village across the wall when the White Walkers came and basically killed everybody.
Murdered everybody.
And turned everybody into zombies. The band Mastodon was part of that, but they were in the background. They didn't want the limelight. They didn't have any lines. They just were there because they were fans of the show, and I thought that was tastefully done. With Ed, and I understand the whole thing behind the song. He's singing a song that obviously had some meaning. Its name is Hand of Gold, so I mean, I'm sure that's got some connotation towards Jaime or at least the Lannisters in general. And so I understand it from that point, but there were multiple close-ups of him that he got a couple, juicy lines that didn't need to go to a pop star. Could have went to a starving actor out there that would love to get his big break on Game of Thrones.
Right.
I don't know. He looked the part, though, right?
I guess.
He looks like
a hobbit.
Yes, he nailed it. But
wrong fantasy version, yo.
For real, it did throw me off a little bit. I didn't like it. I hope we get less of it. I don't know Ed Sheeran that well.
Yeah.
I know he is a thing. I've seen pictures of him. That's about the furthest I go. I just wonder, who owes him money?
Right.
Yeah, he's got something on somebody.
I'm not as irate as the rest of the internet about it. It didn't completely ruin the episode for me. I just really questioned why they jumped the shark. This show is so epic and so well done. You don't need to do that. Game of Thrones doesn't need to do that at all.
It was a little weird.
It puts an asterisk on it for me, and to Kangaroo Punch after Firma Point, in another show that I love, The Walking Dead, Scott Ian was on there, and you didn't even know because he was a walker.
You didn't even know.
Selena Gomez doesn't pop up in the prison on The Walking Dead or something, and that's what I equate it to. So for me, that was rough.
Hateful cameos.
Yeah, and that was not. That was gratuitous, and again, I think it puts a little asterisk on this season. And George R.R. Martin, I think, was probably laughing his ass off in his Lazy Boy, going, go after the books. That's what happens, right?
His Lazy Boy made out of fat stack,
right. Just stuffed with $100 bills.
Yeah.
Oh, George!
I'm sure he's not worried about it too much.
No. So, I mean, from here on out, I think the rest of the season will be interesting. 6 episodes this season is that correct?
Yep.
So we
I
have
think it's either 6 or 7. Yeah.
We have 4 episodes of nothing before we get good again. So I'll be
correct.
I'll be on the edge of my seat. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, just try it. Grab HBO, watch it, and sing along with the one and only Mr. Ed Sheeran.
Number 9.
So apparently we are all Barb. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking viral. And Stranger Things Barb's doppelganger just lit Twitter up like crazy. So Stranger Things fans fell in love with the awkwardly charming Barb, who didn't, and have been dying to know her whereabouts since her creepy disappearance. Wouldn't have minded seeing Barb on Game of Thrones, just saying. But fans of the character are now uniting on Twitter by sharing their doppelganger pics resembling the character. So it's nice that Barb had a doppelganger. Were you guys Stranger Things fans?
Oh, my gosh.
Big time.
So good. And I saw these doppelgangers that are coming up, and I think that is one of the testaments to how amazing the show was. Not only was it well acted, not only was it well written, but every single scene, every single sequence in this show felt like the 80s. I mean, we are both D-Man and myself are children of the 80s, and it just felt like we were back there. So it's funny because so many people have that picture where they look exactly like Barb because there were a million girls like that in the 80s.
I'm pretty sure one of them was Ed Sheeran.
It had to be. Damn.
Yeah, but they all looked like high school pictures of all of my aunts. hashtag my aunts are all Barb. I swear to God.
I smell a Halloween costume. But this begs the question of A, viral stuff is interesting. So how does stuff like this go viral, A? And B, does it make you wonder if you have a doppelganger out there, or do you have a definitive?
Oh. Well, I mean, on the viral side, I think something viral is something that you can't create. I think we've learned that at least in the last couple of years with viral stuff, that it's something that you come at from a pure place and it just resonates with everyone. Kind of in the same way, D-Man, that you just said that, like, Barb, all of these people posting pictures of themselves looking like Barb, it's all of your aunts looking younger. It's like you resonate with that, and so does a million other people. Yeah. And that's why, the hashtag will trend. Or or the photo will go viral or the video or whatever. But with doppelgangers, I mean, there are, you know, however many billion people in the world, there are definitely people out there that look strikingly close to you. In fact, D-Man and Conor McGregor are like about one molecule away from one another.
I have another one. You know it too.
Yeah, Lane Staley.
Yeah, I get Lane Staley all the time. It's kind of creepy.
When I was younger, I used to dye my hair blonde, and when I had blonde hair, I was almost pretty spitting image to David Spade and Tommy Boy.
Still are.
a little bit.
Oh, that's great. Oh man, that's fantastic.
Would you feel the same way about doppelgangers, Dave?
I didn't. I haven't heard it a lot until recently, and I think the convention circuit kind of brought that out. And we have Sons of Anarchy guys on at Walker Stalker and at Heroes and Villains.
Yeah.
And there's a gentleman on Sons of Anarchy that I've gotten a few times. But it was all fun and games until we had Walker Stalker Con Chicago, I believe. Not this one, the year before, we had some boy banders to the show because the Dead 7 movie on Sci-Fi, which had a collection of boy banders. And at the time, I had a pretty decent beard going on. I had my glasses on one day.
I know.
And the very night before the convention, I was in the hotel bar, and a young lady was convinced that I was AJ McLean. Absolutely
I knew it. Okay, so were you the nice person and corrector, or did you run with it?
Well, I asked if it would get me a drink, to which she said no. So then I corrected her. But the next day at the show, word had gotten to AJ. And AJ and I had a nice conversation. We had some good photo ops, and we were planning to do a stunt where I was going to sit at his table after a break with sunglasses on to see if anybody had noticed. But the time got away from us. But yeah, that's the closest I've come. But he was a great sport about it. And he's phenomenal. So I'm okay with that, I guess.
So you're a good sport about it too?
Yeah, what are you going to do? You know, Conor McGregor's a pretty badass doppelganger.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Actually, I remember leaving work one day, and this Irish guy was stumbling out of a bar and looked like he was trying to pick fights with everybody. And he took one look at me, and he's like, "Hey, you look like Conor McGregor." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You know who he is?" I was like, "Yeah, I know who he is. He's going to be the champion." He's like, "Oh," and then we were like best buddies for the rest of the night.
Did you get any free drinks that night? It hasn't worked for me yet.
I must have, because I don't remember.
Oh, fair enough. Done and done. Speaking of drinks, too, while we're on the topic, a little Death Wish vodka action, right?
Yeah.
Damn,
we partnered with a distillery up here, Albany Distilling Company, and they helped us create this vodka. And I'm so proud of this vodka because so many times you go into the liquor store and you see, especially vodka, there is every flavor under the sun. I think there's like birthday cake vodka out there now and all this crap.
Yep.
But it's all made with like extra sugar and a lot of like syrupy, chemical-y kind of stuff.
And weird fake additives.
Yeah, our vodka is nothing but vodka and nitro brew coffee. That's it.
Well, it's not nitro brew. It's just
cold brew coffee. Sorry, it's
and a little bit of sugar.
So tiniest bit of sugar just to to keep that alcohol in the bottle the way that it is. But it when it's broken down, it's basically 70% vodka and 30% cold brew coffee.
And 100%
badassery.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we can't keep it here. It just disappears.
Wow.
I mean, it's just so easy to pour into your coffee, and nobody notices.
It makes the best White Russians, and it also is the best to pour over ice cream, like in an affogato.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I'd love to do a video review for our YouTube channel. So I'm still winking from my last broadcast. Wink, wink, wink.
All right.
Need that in my life. So, ladies and gentlemen, ask your friends around you, your coworkers, who your doppelganger is, and drink some Death Wish vodka. We'll call it a day.
Number 8.
Mario supposedly is going to be back real soon, and he's bringing some friends along with him. We're talking about Rayman's Raving Rabbids with a D. Word on the streets that the craziest and most bizarre mashup yet is coming to the Nintendo Switch this year, later this year, with Mario and the Rabbids Kingdom Battle. So everybody's trying to be hush-hush about this, but we've already seen images of a rabbit wearing Luigi's iconic green cap. as well as one donning the princess's hair and crown and tiara, all that good stuff. Mario, will remain Mario, but there's been this big mashup, and it looks like it's going to be a fun family game for the Nintendo Switch. Do you gentlemen own a Nintendo Switch?
No, I really want one. I have a buddy who has one, and every time he brings it out, I'm like, can I play that?
I don't even know what it is.
It's the new handheld Nintendo, but it also you can play it at like a console, like on your television.
I think I messed with one at the Seattle EMP Museum. They had one there. I was messing with it.
Our friend BJ has one, of course.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, okay.
It's phenomenal. I mean, I travel every week of my life. It comes with me.
Yeah.
Zelda Breath of the Wild could be the best video game of all time, in my opinion.
I've heard.
It's just absolutely phenomenal. And, I'm a big fan of Mario games. Again, I'm a child of the 80s as well, so we all grew up with Mario. So it'll be good to see him. The Rabbids, it's fun on Connect for about 5 minutes, and then I get winded and I have to sit down and drink vodka. But, it's fun. So do you enjoy, video game mashups? Some things came to mind immediately, like Capcom versus Marvel, the fact that Sub-Zero is now in the new Injustice game. Are you guys fans of when that kind of stuff goes down?
Some of them are good.
When the mashup works well, it's incredible.
Best mashup.
Mine's going to be different than yours.
Okay, it's Battletoads and Double Dragon.
That's pretty dope.
That was a good mashup.
Yeah.
Mine's got to be Kingdom Hearts.
Oh,
like that game was incredible, and it was Disney meets Final Fantasy. Like it still blows my mind, and we're all still waiting on Kingdom Hearts 3. You bastard.
Not all. I know
you're not. But I mean, but a lot of times it's just a cash grab,
right?
And it's terrible. But I totally forgot about that Battletoads Double Dragon. That was a great game.
Yeah.
Damn.
Holy crap.
Yeah, there's a part of me that wants to end this podcast right now and go play that, because that's how
I know. And you brought up the Switch, and then I just started thinking in the back of my head, I should really start thinking about buying. Because
I'm pretty sure I found an app that
what?
is Battletoads and Double Dragon.
Well, geez Louise, give me that app.
Right. Hold note on it.
I played Secret of Mana. There's an app for it, but I think the same thing for Battletoad and Double Dragon. So let's end this.
Yeah, we need that.
Let's all play the game.
And when you think about it, at the heart of it, Mario Kart and Mario Party, they're mashups too. So when Mario Kart, you have Donkey Kong, and you have Yoshi, and you have Mario, and you have all these guys, and Link is in the new one, and Animal Crossing characters. So I think the mashup, to your point, when it's done well, it can be enjoyable. Have you played the Rabbids, the Rayman's Raving Rabbids games at all?
I know the game, but I've never played it. I do own a Kinect. I've seen it there. I just have never played it.
It's a lot of mini games, a lot of fun. Bring folks over your house. Maybe you two could do a video playing that on for Death Wish.
And that's kind of where I feel like Nintendo might be going with this mashup, is that in the vein of Mario Party or Super Smash Brothers, or in that kind of vein, you're going to get the Mario universe and the Rabbids universe, and kind of have them kind of pit against each other in like mini games and kind of thing.
Do you think that's the reason why they did it, was to marry, Mario with the Kinect? Or wait, no, it's with Switch.
Right?
Yeah. It would be with the Switch.
Which is motion controls more so than
it would be porting the Ubisoft characters onto Nintendo. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're hoping that the fan bases are similar. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll all see together when it actually comes out. I love it when they come out with a new Mario game, though. The last couple ones have been really fun.
Yeah, Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch looks phenomenal. It's pretty much Mario in a real city, so it's Mario meets GTA in a way. So sign me up for that. And I just think the Switch right now is looking for some footing. It came out with Zelda, Mario Kart, which was the same Mario Kart game for the Wii U, Mario Kart 8. Came out after that, and then we haven't heard much. So hopefully this fills the void. But right now, I know what I need to fill my void with, and that is Battletoads and Double Dragon.
Yes, definitely.
Let's
do this. They need to remake that. I'm into that.
$1 million idea. Let's do it.
Done.
Okay. Battletoads is one of the most underrated games of all time, in my opinion.
It really is.
Absolutely love
so
Battletoads.
Good.
Yeah, I had the Nintendo Power magazine with the maps where you unravel the map.
Yes.
The bike. Yeah.
So good.
I need Battletoads.
Okay, we're all going to play video games after this podcast.
Bye now.
All right, that's it. Video game time.
Number 7.
Although we lost the character of Glenn this past season on The Walking Dead, spoiler alert, the man who played him, Steven Yeun, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Yeun as in fun, is starting to make his post-zombie apocalypse dreams a reality with several new exciting projects. One is the recently released Mayhem with co-star Samara Weaving, who is also in Ash vs. Evil Dead. And that tells a story of a virus that infects a corporate law office on the day attorney Derek Saunders, and he's framed by a coworker and wrongfully fired. So the infection is capable of making people act out their wildest impulses. Trapped in the quarantine building, our hero is forced to savagely fight tooth and nail for not only his job, but his life. So I miss Glenn. I'm just going to say it. Do you guys also miss Glenn?
I do. I felt like he was dealt a bad hand at the end of that. In fact, in that whole season, they should have either killed him off in the whole dumpster debacle.
Yeah,
Right.
that was ridiculous. That
Or just don't do that at all and go the comic book route and bash his brains in with Lucille. And, I mean, to do both of them, by the time the show made it to the point where he got his brains bashed in, I felt less about it. You know, I just felt like as his character, I felt like, well, okay, you know, great. But I do, as an actor, I missed the shit out of him on that show. He was great. He was one of my favorite on that show.
Yeah, 7A was tough for me, and I think that a big part of that was Steven Yeun not being in the show. Absolutely. D-Man, are you a big Walking Dead guy as well?
I think I made it right up to that point, and I may or may not have stopped watching it.
Okay.
I actually never saw him killed, but I knew he was killed because everybody was talking about it. And I think I can't watch people crying on TV too much.
Okay. You're a sensitive guy.
I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a crybaby. I can't handle it. I don't know.
Conor McGregor wouldn't have cried. Just throwing it out there.
Right.
Well, maybe that's because Conor McGregor makes sure he doesn't cry by watching a bunch of people cry on TV.
Fair enough. But, you know... Go ahead.
I am interested in seeing this movie, Mayhem, but I am worried about Steven because he is a good actor, and it would be terrible if he gets typecast as the guy who has to fight the virus-infected zombie in, you know, everything he does.
So you think this is a bad, and that was going to be my question, you think this is a bad move for Steven Yeun to jump into another, you know, for all intents and purposes, zombie apocalypse, you know, kind of situation? Or viral?
As long as, like you said, he's got several exciting new projects. I know he just came out with another movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I know he's got a couple other ones in the works. As long as they're all not that genre, then I understand the reason behind it, because you want to kind of bring your fan base along and be like, here's a little bit of a buffer. I'm still that guy that you like, you know, and I'm doing the things that you like me to do, and not just immediately be, you know, a dancer or whatever, you know, something completely off script, you know, like.
I want to see him be a dancer.
I do too. Like, let's
Steven Yeun and Dancing with the Stars. Let's see that. I want to see that.
Dancing with the Stars, the movie starring Steven Yeun.
I'm in.
Awesome.
Sign me up.
All right.
He has to fight his way out. They're all zombies.
You put zombies back in it. You just ruined it for Steven.
Crap.
Yeah, I immediately thought of the Breakin' franchise, Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, rebooty with Steven Yeun. I'd pay to see that. So what would you guys like to see Steven Yeun in? If you could put him in anything and with anybody, what would you want to see him in? Who would you want to see him in?
Well, I mean, speaking on his acting chops, I think he would be a really good action star. And I think in the vein of either, and I'll go two ways with this. I'll either say in the vein of a really good period piece, like maybe like war, like a World War II movie, or like a Korean War movie, or, you know, not war, current war, you know, like old school war, or just straight up like Steven Yeun and The Rock in, you know, bullets and bandages.
I hate your ideas. I hate your ideas, and you're going to hate mine. You ready?
All right.
I think Steven Yeun's a pretty handsome guy.
Uh-huh.
So why doesn't he just go for, like, you know...
Porn?
No. The Notebook 2.
Oh, The Notebook 2. Oh, you want him to be Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. Think about where Ryan Gosling's career went after that.
All right.
So maybe he should go more like date night
Ooh.
movie, because, I mean... like I said, he's a handsome dude.
So
He's got to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
So I want Steven to be on screen firing bullets and killing people, and you want to fall in love with him.
Yeah. I've already fallen in love with him. I just want to see him,
Right.
I want to see him be that guy.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, the real reason why you didn't watch the season finale comes out, the season premiere,
Yeah,
because you're in love with
exactly
Steven
why.
Yeun.
Secrets out.
Yeah, I want to see Steven Yeun as like a Marvel villain. That's what I want to see. I want to see a complete departure.
Oh,
like
that would be cool too.
Would you have one in mind?
The new Doctor Doom. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't know. That's just what came in.
If they finally did it right, that would be wonderful.
I like him.
exactly.
He seems like an intelligent individual.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
So handsome.
a handsome, intelligent individual. And like I think, much like Netflix's Daredevil did with Kingpin with D'Onofrio, I think he just killed it, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Steven has the chops to do that. And I don't know if you guys know, but he's also pretty handsome. So I think that would that would work out really, really well.
Up. Sign me up.
So everybody, let us know what you think on the social medias. Let us know what you think Steven Yeun should do next. And next time we have Steven in a room with us, we'll run the ideas by him and see what he thinks.
Number 6.
Well. Looks like Jon Bernthal is at it again as the Punisher. Something just dropped today, Jeff. What was it?
Netflix just released the animated trailer, the animated title of The Punisher. And, Netflix not only has been doing really good with their properties like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist and Luke Cage, but I really like the aesthetic of the title sequence and their credit sequence, because it feels like a comic book. Every comic book character, when you really pick up a comic book, they have a specific text. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
The way that it looks, and Punisher looks really rad. It's the skull, and obviously, like the big block letters on the Punisher. So.
I would have to say, as an employee of Death Wish Coffee, the use of the skull in a logo is a very intelligent idea.
Yes, it is.
Could very well be the
I'm so
best.
excited for this series, though. Holy crap! I love Jon Bernthal, and I love the Punisher, so it's like a double love.
Yeah, you're making like fettuccine Alfredo in your pants right now.
I really am.
You have like a Steven Yeun level of excitement going on right now, you could say.
Totally. Very much so.
But we're talking comics, and the Punisher has been one of my favorites forever as well. What is it about the Punisher that you've always clung to?
Grit.
He's an anti-hero. My favorite, full disclosure, my favorite comic book character is Wolverine. He's always been my favorite character. I didn't jump on that bandwagon in the last couple of years. The reason why I liked Wolverine and I liked the Punisher is because they're at their core, but they're not really great people. The Punisher, in his original origin, was a Vietnam vet who basically had PTSD and was trying to acclimate back into, normal life, and his family got brutally murdered by the mob. And so he goes on a rampage to get revenge. And he murders a lot of people. Now, he does things maybe for the right reasons. In fact, he, in the comics, still to this day, he idolizes Captain America. Captain America is the Punisher's hero. Like, he wishes he could be Captain America, but he doesn't have the moral fiber to be that, because where Cap would be like, we have to vanquish this foe, but I have to be smart about it and do it within the confines of the law. Punisher will put 20 bullets in him and say that's good. And leave his body on the street so everybody can see it. And that's kind of what drew me to it. It's like that gritty anti-hero. I love it.
I always liked how he found himself in these horrible situations where he's like messed up, shot a bunch of times, had to cauterize a wound with a hot knife, and he still finds a way to get through some like really hairy situations. I always loved how crafty he was. He's like, I don't know, he's like mercenary MacGyver. I've always loved him.
Yeah.
The Punisher, when it comes down to it, he's a guy, and I'll skip over with the other side of the aisle here. He's a guy like Batman, someone who runs around with all of these super-powered mutant people, these crazy, people with inhuman abilities. And the Punisher is just a guy. That's it. He's just a very highly trained military professional.
His superpower is anger.
Right. who he just has the focus and the determination to get the job done. And yet he still, like you said, D-Man, he still can do that, even though he's been shot up and cut and bruised, and he'll just keep going. Whereas someone like my favorite character, Wolverine, he's got a healing factor. He can get shot to shit all he wants, and he'll just be able to heal and keep going, you know?
Yeah, and in the break, we talked about what you mentioned in the beginning with Netflix and Jon Bernthal, better known as Shane from The Walking Dead. What he brought to the role in Daredevil, and we loved it. Is he your favorite now for both of you? Is he your favorite on-screen Punisher, or do you lean towards any of the others?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Really?
I do give props to Thomas Jane.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought that he did a really good job showing you the humanity of that character.
He wasn't gritty enough.
You're
though.
right. He wasn't. He never crossed that line. He kind of had too much heart. It was too human.
Right.
Whereas Bernthal, man, and Bernthal
He does the perfect chip on his shoulder.
He really does. And you look at his other roles, like his role in The Walking Dead. Shane had that chip on his shoulder and really did it. One of my favorite movies as of late is a movie called Fury that he was in with Brad Pitt. And again, Bernthal, really brought that kind of gravity to it. Even in
Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, I was going to say Baby Driver.
Baby Driver.
But both those movies, he still was able to, portray the character, but be a little bit above and beyond. And that's what really makes a great actor anyways.
I like Dolph Lundgren too, though. I won't lie.
Who
As
doesn't?
the Punisher?
Like
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was back when movies were campy.
Yeah.
and there was and forgive me because again, if I was a good journalist, I'd do a lot of research, but I don't. There was Ray Stevenson, I believe was his name, in Warzone, who played Titus Pullo in Rome, and I loved him in Rome. And that movie, I think, just completely missed the mark. And Tom,
I don't think that has anything to do with him. I think that I honestly just think that movie just wasn't well put together.
Right. And Thomas Jane, I love Thomas Jane as well. And there's a part of me that, as much as I think Bernthal he is the Punisher, and he's one of those guys that he's this kind of the same guy in everything, like Vince Vaughn in a way, but we love it.
Yeah.
And as much as I give props to Bernthal for that, Thomas Jane has a love for this character. I don't know if you've seen the short on YouTube, Dirty Laundry, that Thomas Jane produced.
Yes.
Yeah, with Ron Perlman, and that's when a guy loves a character that much. Do you think that we kind of owe it to a guy like that to give him another shot?
No, I don't. I mean, you do your best and you hope that it resonates with the fan base. And if it doesn't, or if, time lapses and they want to go, like the company wants to go in a different direction, then you kind of just have to roll with those punches. I mean, look at what's happening with the Spider-Man franchise.
Right.
I mean, we have now collectively lived through 3 separate high-profile actors being, this iconic character. And as much as I think there are good and bad about everybody who's portrayed that character, I roll with the punches, and I just, I'm going forward with the rest of it. So I'm Bernthal 100%.
Yeah, all in on Bernthal.
Yeah.
So do you think, let me ask you, do you think it's going to be Jon Bernthal that unites the Marvel Netflix universe with the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I hope so. I mean, Kevin Feige has been very cagey about the upcoming Avengers, Infinity War, which is, it's literally going to be Thanos kicking the crap out of all of the Avengers.
Right.
And the question that everybody wants to know is are we going to see these street level guys get into the mix, because Marvel is doing what DC should be doing, and they're not. DC said immediately, we've got these shows, Arrow and Flash and Gotham, but they are completely different than what you're going to see on screen, whereas Marvel makes it a point to, if you're a fan of the movies, you can find Easter eggs in the Netflix shows or in TV's Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You can find these, these ties to the making the universe as a whole. So to answer your question, I really damn well hope that we see the Punisher on screen firing a couple, 50 caliber bullets at Thanos and having him just bounce off. But I mean, that would be, and I'm asking for a 10-second cameo.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That,
I'm not asking for him to carry the movie, but I want to see Daredevil. I want to see Phil Coulson. I want to see all these guys appear on screen just for a second, just because this is going to be the craziest fight the Marvel Universe has ever seen, and it better be all hands on deck.
Right. So are you saying that you would like John Bernthal to be the Ed Sheeran of Infinity War? Is that what?
Oh,
no.
man, I'm gonna go hang myself in a corner.
Right.
This is terrible.
And if
no,
John Bernthal
although
has it,
I've never heard Bernthal's singing voice.
I'm past. I'm good.
Right. I bet it's very Tom Waits-y, I would say.
Yes, I
But
bet you it is too.
probably
but,
beautiful.
no, I don't. Like I said, I don't want it to be a in-your-face cameo. But we've spent a lot of time setting up these characters. Like, look at
Right.
the 2 seasons of Daredevil and how much that character has progressed. Charlie Cox has made that character iconic in its own right. And this is speaking from someone who's a huge comic book fan, and I could give 2 shits about Daredevil before the Netflix shows. I could care less
You
about
didn't
that
like
character.
Batfleck Daredevil?
No, and not even that. I didn't
Batfleck.
even like him in the comic books. But
Right.
now it's like I love Daredevil because of those Netflix shows.
I think, as far as those Netflix shows go, I only got through Daredevil to get to John Bernthal Punisher.
Yeah, it's a good call.
All right.
He was the best part of it, period.
But
Well,
did you-
D'Onofrio's got his moments too.
But did you fall in love with the series or fall in like with the series as a result?
No.
Oh,
Okay. But did you?
okay.
But you were impressed with Bernthal.
Yes.
Okay, and you're going to watch that Punisher series, no question.
Oh, I'm going to watch the shit out of it.
Then it was a success, right? It was a success.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
kids, if you don't know who the Punisher is, grab a comic book. You can download them now. Fire up the old Dolph Lundgren film, and then go from there, right?
Definitely.
Yes.
We're talking comics, and we're talking The Punisher. Thank you, John Bernthal.
Number 5.
So this month brought us Jay-Z's new album, 444, and it dropped, but you couldn't listen. Jay-Z's new album, 444, dropped a few weeks ago, and early reviews were focusing more on the fact that his lyrics seemed to confirm that he did, in fact, go a little astray to Queen Bee there, and rather the quality of his music. It also dropped to a small amount of criticism that you couldn't actually listen to it right away, and I experienced this myself too. It was provided for streaming exclusively through Tidal and Sprint if you hadn't signed up before the 26th, rubbing some people, even Mark Ronson, the wrong way. So were you guys able to get it right away?
Oh yeah, we know terrible people on the dark corners of the internet. Like I think we listened to it like a couple minutes after it was released. We had it on a couple different computers throughout the office that day. I enjoyed it. I think it's it's funny. I think the last couple albums that Jay-Z came out with, I wasn't really impressed with. There was like a hit or two that I liked on them, but entire album, I'm pretty sure I like the whole thing. So I'm happy with it at least.
Okay. D-Man?
How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I feel neutral about it.
Neutral.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It sounded all right. I'm not gonna go out and buy it or anything.
Yeah.
People were blown away, and I was seeing the tweets and the Facebook posts right away of how this was life changing, and I was one of the people that was locked out because I didn't have Tidal, and then when I attempted to get Tidal, if you hadn't signed up before a certain date and didn't have Sprint, you weren't able to listen to it. Also, Jay-Z does not put his music on Spotify. Because he believes that because you can listen to Spotify for free in some cases, that's not giving the artist their due. So it was kind of like the white whale to track it down. And when I listened to it, I'm a huge Jay-Z fan. Blueprint changed my life, hands down. But there's a few tracks on here. There's a great track called Legacy where he samples Donny Hathaway, which incidentally was the same song in the Walking Dead season finale. But for me, it didn't blow me over. And I'm wondering how you guys feel about the fact that one of the most high-profile couples in the history of entertainment, Jay-Z and Beyonce, have gone back and forth with this Lemonade and now this 444, accusations of infidelity, confirmation of infidelity, Becky with the good hair. How do you guys feel about that kind of situation?
Oh, they're really drawing that out to get the sales. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
I think that it was a thing. I'm sure either he cheated on her or they at least had some sort of infidelity, and they probably worked it out like a good married couple would do, hopefully. And they immediately, because they both are such huge stars, they probably immediately thought, well, this could be good fodder for, creation, because, you create from the heart. And so they probably both started writing music around it, and then just ran with it. And was like, well, what if we did this? Because when Beyonce dropped Lemonade, no one knew anything. And that entire record was from the persona of someone who got burned by their man.
Right.
And everybody went nuts because they were like, I can't believe it. And now with this record, everybody was kind of waiting on the response. It wasn't as much of a surprise, I felt.
I mean, it's almost like the old rap days when rappers would just insult each other over different tracks,
Right.
but it's kind of a little bit different where they're kind of drawing out this infidelity between the two in their albums. But I just think it's something that, like Jeff said, they probably agreed upon, like, hey, this happened, we have to move past it, but we can't look past the fact that we're musicians. Right. And we're influenced by tragedy around us, and this
right.
was a tragedy, so I'm going to make this music like this.
Right.
And then they did, and it caught fire, and it seems like they're just capitalizing on it at this point.
Totally.
But is it right? I mean, you both of you gentlemen and myself have a medium. If you experience something like this in your life, would you take to your medium, would you take to your podcast to address it, or should it be something that's behind closed doors for everybody?
The podcast that we do is not that kind of medium for
right.
me. But if, we're musicians too, and that is something I would express that.
Totally.
And, I've definitely experienced a lot of tragedies and dealt with it through music. But I'm not going to deal with it through public speaking on a podcast.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like the move.
I'm not very public about my life on social media or on the podcast either, but definitely, like Dustin said, like we both have been in bands for a long time, and I would see us writing a song, around something like that probably almost immediately.
And that's the great thing about music, is that you can kind of deal with your issues and make them public without even actually making them public. So you kind of get the satisfaction of airing out your dirty laundry without anybody truly understanding how dirty the laundry really is.
Right, but everybody with these two, they know that it's their laundry. So and I'm seeing it from a different view now that you both just explained that to me. But we know it's their laundry. So is it worth the therapeutic element at this point for them? Do you think?
It seems like it's probably a necessity.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the next step to be able to move past it. And it makes them a shit ton of money.
I think
exactly.
It's the money thing too. I mean, look, I am a huge Beyonce fan. As much as I am a Jay-Z fan, I'm even a bigger Beyonce fan, and I think Lemonade was almost a flawless album.
Wow.
But on top of that, I think that it was I think that in itself was probably the couple dealing with what had happened. And there really didn't need to be a response other than the fact that, well, Jay hasn't put out a record in a little bit,
Right.
and if I put out a response record, it'll blow up and I can make a bunch of money,
How upset do you think everybody would be if it had nothing to do with
pretty upset.
that?
It wouldn't go anywhere. If he just did a couple, club bangers or whatever, and it just was all about being, Jay-Z, HOV, and all
Big
that
pimpin'.
stuff again, I don't think anybody would care.
So now you're dealing with a shit ton of expectations at that point, and you just gotta. I mean, you gotta make your paper.
Exactly.
Well, needless to say, again, I think time heals all wounds. I don't think cash hurts that either. But you can pick up Jay-Z's 444 for purchase. You can also stream it on Tidal, of course, which is still the only home for Beyonce's Lemonade, and Amazon Music as well. So everybody check it out and let us know what you think. Was it worth it? Or is there going to be a new album from Becky with the good hair?
Number 4.
So unfortunately, this past weekend we had to say goodbye to a legend of film, the one and only Mr. George Romero, creator of the original Night of the Living Dead, 1968, which changed film, changed horror, created, for lack of a better word, the zombie genre. And he was just an unbelievable talent. Passed away at 77 years of age. And this news absolutely devastated me. And it's still kind of tough to process. Were you gentlemen big fans of Night of the Living Dead and Romero himself?
Totally. I mean, I loved Night, but I think, like a lot of people, I really gravitated towards Dawn of the Living Dead, or Dawn of the Dead. I'm sorry, in the one that came out in '78. That was one of the first movies that I saw when I was younger that like I felt like I could be a part of that because it was done on a shoestring budget, but it was done so well and it was terrifying. And he really knew how to do the most with the least amount of stuff, like it was incredible what he could actually achieve.
Yeah, I remember watching Night of the Living Dead as a kid, just like I knew what it was and I just hadn't experienced it, so I was curious and I put it on, and I remember being thoroughly impressed. Just like what a great storyline. What he really captured the horror genre in a really new and awesome way, and I was a big fan.
What a blow to the horror community, and I think there was still so much left to create in that universe. And like I had said on Walker Nation podcast, how I really appreciated how he stuck to his laurels. That the folks at The Walking Dead wanted him to come in and direct, and he said, you know what, those aren't my zombies, and he really stuck
like
to
that.
Yeah, I mean, he could have easily done it. I'm sure there was a payday involved, but he was really concerned about the art. And you talk about, I love Dawn of the Dead. I think that was one of the films that the reboot was almost damn near as good as the original.
Definitely. The reboot was great too.
And in Night of the Living Dead, it changed so much for film, and it was, there was a lot of groundbreaking incidents in that film between the violence of it. The gore, the social message that it's the humans who are the actual monsters, and the interracial relationships in there. And for what I loved about Romero was, for him it's two things rather. It's the living and the dead, and that's it. And I think he gave us a lot, and he'll definitely be missed, and it's felt throughout the entire community. And where do you think the zombie genre goes from here, guys?
I've been saying this for a couple of years. I don't know where it's going to go. We see the ebb and flow of, trends, especially in popular culture. And the zombie genre, it struggled through the 70s and the 80s with all of the, incredible movie monsters and all that kind of stuff. And then really kind of started gaining ground again in the late 90s. And now is at another resurgence, and we might be seeing the ebb of that again. I'm not really sure. The Walking Dead as a television show. I know a lot of us would love for it to go on forever, but the reality of the situation is it probably only has a couple more seasons left in it. The video game comic community, they've really squeezed out a lot from the zombie genre. You've got, your Resident Evils and that kind of thing. And I don't know. I don't know if it's going to get another surge again. I'm not saying it's going to die out completely, but I just don't know if it's going to if it has another leg in it.
Yeah, I'm with Jeff on this one. I really think it's going to be overdone for a few more years to really capture the last stupid people who want to pay for it. And it's going to kind of fade out for a while until probably 10 years later when it's going to come back, smashing again. It's such a cool genre, but you can only bring it so far before you capture every corner of that idea. And it's going to take a little while for that to recover from what we've done to the zombie genre. And I'm sad that George Romero won't be around for it, but I think somebody will figure it out again in like 10 or 15 years after we kill the shit out of it, pun intended.
Right. Well, and pun accepted, sir. And it was just announced today that the Telltale Walking Dead video game, which changed a lot for video games, will have its fourth and final season. And Melissa Hutchison, who does the voice of Clementine, does the voice at the beginning of this show and all the in-between numbers. Just threw it up as well. How proud but yet sad she is. Clementine will be the playable character again in season 4. But it seems like we're at the kind of the tail end of this zombie bump, and it's a little concerning for a guy that owns a horror company. But it's I think we need to be respectful of the creator of it. And whenever I
Right.
see some things, like the whole like warm bodies thing kind of went up me sideways, and I didn't appreciate that. So
Yeah, and you know, even if it kind of falls to the wayside, zombies are always part of the horror lexicon, and you know, and you've seen it happen with other beings in the horror lexicon.
Yeah,
you
you've
know,
seen it happen with vampires.
Vampires.
With True Blood.
Think about it with because
Right.
vampires got super big and then they go away a little bit, but they never actually go away
Yeah.
because then you'll get like really cool horror movies where the twist will be a vampire or the background characters happen to be
yeah.
vampires, you know, and then you
They
kind
kind of did that with Hemlock Grove, where
Right.
you really didn't know you were watching a vampire werewolf movie until they were like, you know, third or fourth episode.
Right.
And I think that's, you know, like I said before, somebody's going to figure out a way to do it again and do it better. But,
right. You just got to kind of let it breathe for a minute or not breathe.
And I don't think the horror genre will fade whatsoever. We'll just find a new creature to latch onto and
Right.
be afraid of, you know?
Right.
Well said. Absolutely. So, you know, if someone's listening to this and they've never seen the original Night of the Living Dead or any works of George Romero, you definitely need to do that and then join us in the celebration of the life and the creation of such a fantastic man. Rest in peace, George Romero.
Number 3.
So, gentlemen, I love all things tech. I also love all things Star Wars, and recently the most popular and beloved droid in the galaxy, R2-D2, was sold to an anonymous buyer for $2.76 million. But sadly, it isn't technically the one and only R2-D2, as there were many different models used in the filming of the franchise, but it was reconstructed from parts used in the original trilogy and the first two prequels. So it was only, even though it was only a replica made of some actual parts that were on screen, it still has the highest selling price in Star Wars memorabilia history. To give you some context, the original Luke Skywalker lightsaber sold for only $450,000. Is there a piece of Star Wars tech that you guys would love to get your hands on?
I want a pod racer. I want it. I want to rip down the road in a pod racer.
You want it to
Sounds
actually
awesome.
function.
At first, I was like lightsaber, but screw lightsabers. Pod racer now.
Nice.
If I could have anything in the Star Wars universe, it would be really hard to pick because I'm such a huge fan. But I mean, one of my favorite characters is Boba Fett, and I would want his wrist gauntlet because that thing was like Batman's utility belt. He had rockets in it. He had the rope that he fired at Luke in Return of the Jedi above the Sarlacc pit there. You know, he had like all sorts of stuff in that, and I think that'd be really cool to like own that.
I love how we automatically assume the memorabilia that we'd be getting is actually able to be used
Right.
as we saw it in movies.
Yeah.
completely
Well, I mean, come
functional.
on. Of course it would. It's all real,
I
right?
get the pod racer. It's just that, yeah, I got a lump of crap sitting in my living room for the next 20 years.
Well, the famous story from the original Star Wars, the 77 movie, is that, you know, nobody thought it was going to be good. Nobody thought it was ever going to kick off this incredible franchise. And Lucas and, you know, his filmmakers at the time basically destroyed a lot of the stuff that they used on that first movie, to the point where if you watch Star Wars and then you watch Empire and the subsequent movies, Darth Vader's costume is completely different because they just lost it.
Yeah.
They just didn't even keep it. You know, so I mean, like, I would even go as far as saying I'd want a piece from the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, just something that was actually on film for that first movie.
Crazy. What would you want, Dave?
I mean, Slave Leia came to mind. That'd be the first thing I'd want. My own Slave Leia. I would.
That's the way you think, sir.
What I would want is something I have a replica of. I would want Salacious Crumb. I don't know if that's weird, but I would want like an actual puppet Salacious Crumb. I bought one. Disney used to have Star Wars weekends, and I bought a replica a few years back. That wasn't cheap, but I would want an original Salacious Crumb, or an original Yoda. But that's kind of like the holy grail at that point. But I like puppets.
Yeah, totally.
Is
Like
that-
an actual like the Muppet Frank
Yeah.
Oz Yoda, right? Like,
Yeah, that would be insane.
Yeah.
What in?
That'd be pretty cool.
So what is
All
it?
Your friends.
What have you guys paid a lot of money for something from a movie or a game or a TV show that you love?
You bought some cells.
nice.
I bought I do have a cell from Ren and Stimpy. I bought directly from Bob Camp, which was pretty rad, but it wasn't like super expensive.
Was it like $50?
No, it was a couple hundred. I spent a lot of money on comic books because I am a big comic book fan. I have some pretty choice books that cost me some money, but I don't have anything like that's super movie replica or television replica that I've spent a lot of money on. How about yourself, D-Man?
I only spend money on shoes.
Okay. We'll see. You're a shoe guy, and that's I think that's
well, now I am. It's a new thing.
it's a new fad you're trying out. What have you purchased recently in the shoe game?
I stick with the Nike Light running shoes, but they come in many different colors. Right now, I'm wearing some neon green running shoes. They're pretty hip, I have to say.
They're very bright.
Is there one thing that you own that is in your a collection of whatever that's your prized one? Whether it's
totally.
shoes,
First appearance of Wolverine.
Ooh.
Incredible Hulk 181. That's my holy grail. I actually, funny story is that I actually owned it, and then I sold it to help pay for my wedding, and then my wife and I a couple of years later actually
got divorced. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
No, he actually worked with our local comic shop and got me another one, and it's actually in better condition than my original.
Sorry, Trish, I'm just kidding.
Nice. D-Man, what about you? Is it the neon
my
green?
favorite pair of shoes?
Oh, just anything from any collection. Do you have one prize piece from any collection?
No, I'm not much of a collector.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't have like a bunch of one thing. I'm not like a stamp collector I don't really collect comic books or. Nah, it's just I don't know. I'm more of a Buddhist. I let things go, you know.
Fair enough. Well, we're gonna go with the neon green then for that.
You got it.
Yeah, I have a signed David Morrissey photo, which I love. This was before I got into convention game, and then my very first Walker Stalker ever was the third show, and it was the first time they visited Boston. I actually had a Walking Dead action figure, if you will, signed by John Bernthal. So that's
awesome.
That's near and dear to me. Absolutely. I'm a collector. I collect all kinds of things. So Funko Pops, we're the Pop 10. We have our top 10 Funko Pops of the month every month, and I have a Chernabog from Disney's Fantasia, and he's my holy grail.
Awesome.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. I used to collect Pogs as a kid.
Okay. Did you have one Pog that you absolutely loved?
There was this yin yang brass slammer that I had, and it was like 4 inches thick of brass, and I loved that. I still don't know where that damn thing went. It still haunts me.
That's so funny.
Maybe that's why I stopped collecting things.
Right.
And as soon as I let that go, I had to let go of everything.
Well, don't worry. You and your wife will end up tracking one down, and you'll be able to replace that Pog.
No wife here. No.
Well, when you get married, that's going to be.
No, I'm on my own on this one, Dave.
Fair enough.
Just keep there, homie.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you have from your collection that you absolutely love, from green neon shoes to a $2.76 million R2-D2. That's tech.
Number 2.
In food this month, of course, we're talking about Death Wish coffee, right? And America's love affair with coffee. So, guys, as you know, America has always had an obsession with coffee. And that started way back in good old 1773 when it became a patriotic duty to switch from drinking tea to drinking coffee. Take that, Britain. During the Boston Tea Party, right? But in the past few decades, it's become a social phenomenon with the rebirth of specialty coffee houses, bars, and the growth of big box coffee retailers. But just as craft beers have become a major pop culture trend, so has specialty and unique coffee. And speaking of unique coffee, that's what Death Wish is, right? The mission was to create something incredible that's made by passionate people for passionate people, and you guys have absolutely nailed it. So, let's talk a little bit more about the philosophies of the company and where you've seen it grow in your time there.
Well, like you said earlier, Mike Brown started the company back in 2012. He owned a coffee shop that was failing. And he started listening to his customers, and a lot of the customers kept coming in and basically just asking for his strongest cup of coffee. And he started to think, there are a lot of different blends out there, but no one's really coming at it like I'm the strongest, coffee in the world. And even Mike himself didn't start off with that idea. He wanted to make the tastiest cup of coffee. He wanted it to be very high in caffeine, to please his customers, but he didn't want to sacrifice it for taste. And so he, like a mad scientist, got some of his friends together, and they started figuring out, how to blend the beans, how to roast the beans right, and they ended up on the recipe that would inevitably become the world's strongest coffee, which is Death Wish coffee.
And I think what happened from there is that there's a certain type of person that's attracted to, high-octane coffee, and that's, the person that needs to get shit done, and also the person that does a lot of shit to begin with. So, I mean, it's become, over the years, more of a lifestyle brand when, we decided to start, fueling people around the world. And now we deal a lot with Olympians, and we deal a lot with rock stars and
firefighters, nurses,
astronauts.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole world of people. It's just about everybody that needs more energy than they've already have. So now we have,
and they don't want to. That's in those energy drinks.
Right. And you think about those energy drinks like Monster and Red Bull, and they're more than just an energy drink. They
are a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. And people get Monster logo. We were just at the recent Empire State Tattoo Convention, and I actually saw 2 people walk away with a Monster tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
Just the logo.
Wow.
Yeah.
But now we got people putting on Death Wish coffee tattoos.
Yeah.
Really?
And
we're community.
We're sponsoring NASCAR, and we're going to all these events, so we're becoming more than just a coffee company.
And it's such a badass brand from first glance. The red, the white, the black, the skull and crossbones. Is that the main demographic you see? You see folks maybe in our age range, or do you guys get correspondence from older folks who are jumping in on it? And where have you seen some unexpected, letters or emails or tweets?
The thing that surprised me the most is, single mothers.
Yeah.
And they need the energy to deal with 1,000 screaming kids.
Yeah,
and that's the one that surprised me most. And there's a lot of them out there. We see a lot of older people that are just, once again, they need to get shit done.
The skull and crossbones initially, and actually still to this day, can be a double-edged sword, because a lot of people who are coffee connoisseurs, someone who actually goes out and really seeks out that good cup of coffee, the first thing they do when they see a skull and crossbones logo is turn their nose up at it and go, well, that's a gimmick.
Yeah.
That can't be good. But the product has to be able to back up, what we're actually trying to put out. And we do. And we surprise a lot of people. But the age group is endless, because it's funny, it's obviously, sure, our age group loves that black, white, and red and skull and crossbones, aesthetic. But, there's the older generation. They love it because they get to kind of rock it, and it's not like a death metal band or something like that,
Right.
And even a lot of our coffee consumers, their children love to rock our sunglasses or our T-shirts or whatever, because it's just cool.
And I think everybody's got a little bit of a badass in them.
Definitely.
Somebody's got that voice in them when they see that skull and crossbones. They're like, yeah, come on, you want to do
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
And they have that other mom voice being like, you shouldn't drink that. And what does somebody do when they hear that mom voice telling them not to do something?
Yeah.
They're going to buy that coffee. They're going to
Totally.
drink it. They're going to have a good time. They're going to be stuck on Death Wish coffee forever.
Mike Brown, when he came up with the logo and the design, he was thinking late at night one night about what would be if he walked into just some random person's kitchen and looked on their countertop and saw a bag or a vessel of coffee. What would make him pick it up and be the most intrigued? And his first actual idea was one of those old tincture bottles, those old poison bottles, but it would say coffee on it. And you'd pick it up and you'd be like, why the hell does this have a biohazard sign on it, but it says coffee? And you'd be instantly intrigued. And that was kind of the birth of the idea of Death Wish coffee.
Well, and I have to tell you, gentlemen, you already know how huge of a fan I am. I work conventions. Oh, yeah. I host Walker Stalker Con, Heroes and Villains Fan Fest, and I need something to help me get shit done. And that's what we've been drinking forever. So it's an amazing brand. It's the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life.
Thank you.
We're grateful for that. Trust me. And one thing I'm also grateful for are folks that podcast and podcast well, because the podcast community, the beauty of it is it's not one of those communities where people like to point out others' faults. It's a community where in most cases we embrace each other and give a nod to other great content. So this Fueled by Deathcast, you guys are catching fire. You've had some pretty amazing guests as of late. Am I right?
Yeah, we started out as the idea of we didn't want to come out with a coffee podcast because that would get boring after the second episode, just talking coffee. So we do talk, but it's more about getting a special guest every week and asking them the simple question of what fuels them, because everybody in this world, the name of the podcast is Fueled by Deathcast, not just because of the company, but everyone is fueled by death. Everyone is fueled by the idea that they want to do something cool that they can leave their mark on this rock before they actually leave it for good, because death is inevitable.
Right.
And we're very interested in talking with people from all walks of life about what they do and what fuels them to do that thing. And we have had some really cool people as of late. We got to talk to retired astronaut Nicole Stott. She actually went up to the International Space Station twice and lived up there for over 100 days. We've had a couple incredible musicians, including Richard Fortus, the guitarist of Guns N' Roses. Wyclef Jean was just on the podcast. Wow. Some reality television stars, some incredible athletes. It's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah, the Wyclef absolutely blew my mind. He was one of my favorites from the Fuji days, so definitely jealous of you guys for that one.
I couldn't believe how incredibly nice and enlightened he was. It still blows me away.
Yeah.
I saw her on the Facebooks. Ricky Rackman, that one's in the can.
Yeah, and it's funny. Ricky, actually, for people who don't know, he used to own the Cat House back in the late 80s, an incredible club that broke a ton of bands. And then he actually became the most famous host of MTV's Headbangers Ball. And a couple of years ago, he found Death Wish Coffee, just like anybody would, and loved it. And we've been kind of friends and influencer friends ever since.
Well, he does something called Ricky's Ride, which is a benefit for cystic fibrosis.
Yeah.
So we kind of got tied in with him there because we kind of help him all along the way for that. Because it's just
it's a 48-state motorcycle tour across America,
and we totally back the whole situation there. So he was on that 48-state tour when he came by and came to check out the new warehouse, and he sat down for a podcast. It was great to have him in house.
Yeah, it really was.
It's pretty surreal. Get tasered by him.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
Wow.
It was a good time.
Fair enough. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard it, please, after you listen to this podcast, of course, go ahead and listen to Fueled by Deathcast. So get online, order some Death Wish coffee, listen to Fueled by Deathcast, sip the best cup of coffee in the world, and get shit done.
Number 1.
In theme parks this month, we're talking about how food has become such a huge part of the experience. And again, having my buddies here from Death Wish Coffee, food and beverage is always a match made in heaven. So many would say that theme park food really started to evolve with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Have you guys been to the Wizarding World?
I sure have. Actually, I went there on my honeymoon.
Beautiful.
I didn't have a honeymoon, and I did not.
You weren't invited to my honeymoon.
Right. You need to get married, grab some pogs, and get to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
You sound like my mom now.
When are we going to get grandkids? I don't know if your mom sounds like that. That's just what happened.
No, you nailed it.
Oh, great. So that's what Conor McGregor's mom sounds like. But of course, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter first opened in 2010, and Butterbeer started this incredible craze that I don't even think Universal saw coming, right? And it's really pushed them to continue to find unique food that's themed to the various stories they're telling in their parks, from Duff Beer and Flaming Moe's in Springfield to Butterbeer and its continued evolution. So it's incredible to see how food's become such a part of the experience. Butterbeer is now offered as fudge, as ice cream. It's hot, it's frozen, and it's straight up like normal. And then, of course, these amazing cauldron cakes recently went through a bit of evolution as well, and the internet freaked out when people started posting how amazing they are. So, Wizarding World snacks. Jeff, sounds like you can speak to this. The Butterbeer, did you go insane? What did you enjoy in your food experience here at Universal Orlando?
That's all Jeff drinks now is Butterbeer. He lives on Butterbeer.
I hated it. I hated it. Both my wife and I, we're huge Harry Potter fans.
So wait, is it actually like butter-flavored beer? What is
No. It's like...
Is it alcoholic? It's probably not alcoholic.
It's not. It's what the kids drink in the movie, in the books. And
Does it get them drunk?
No.
No.
It's
why are they drinking this?
because it's like the magical drink or whatever. I don't know. It's butterscotch based, but it was way too. I'm not a butterscotch fan to begin with, and it was way too sweet for my taste. But I did hear that they started bringing it out as like fudge and ice cream, and I would be super down to try that because I feel like that's where it should live. As the drink,
it's probably too rich, right?
It was too rich for me. We went directly to Hogsmeade, directly to get it. You know, like we were like, yay, we're gonna drink butterbeer. We even took pictures of ourselves doing it, and like immediately was just like, isn't that great? At least in our palates. But you're right. I've heard about it's just it became this craze down in Universal, and one of the things
is the Duff beer real beer.
Oh
yeah,
and it's brewed locally.
I was just going to bring that up. Is that one of the things I was sad about? I'm also a huge Simpsons fan.
Okay.
And when we were down there on my honeymoon, we got to go on the ride, and the Quickie Mart was built, but they were building Moe's at that time. They were just building out that area of Universal, so they hadn't actually put it all into play yet. So I didn't get a chance to try Duff beer or Flaming Moe's. So I got to go back. In fact, there's a whole other area of Harry Potter's Wizarding World down there now, too, that I have to go experience.
Time to get divorced and married.
Yeah.
Sorry, again. I'm so sorry, Trish.
Poor Trish. Trish deserves a trip back to Hogsmeade and to Diagon Alley at Universal.
Yeah. We definitely are going to come back down very soon. We actually just were talking about it last week about when we're going to book that trip and do it. So.
And you would enjoy Duff Gardens, which is now across from the Simpsons ride, where they have a nice bar outside. I might head there after this podcast myself. The Duff beer is brewed locally, and it's absolutely delicious. And again,
oh, nice! I'm curious.
It's amazing. And then Diagon Alley has beer of its own now as well, and you can get the butterbeer ice cream, which is fantastic. And when you come back too, I recommend you go for the frozen butterbeer. It takes the sweetness down a notch a little bit. Because I
see, and that's what I think. I think it should be more of a dessert type of thing. As the drink that I got. And I think I went the wrong way, too, because I got it as my drink with my meal. Like, we got, like, I think I got, like, shepherd's pie or, like, so whatever, you know, like, the meal was. So it was like, here's this hearty meal, you know. Stomach, yeah. And then what did I do? I went on roller coasters afterwards.
No. I wonder how much butterbeer they've had to clean up. That's so gross. Butterbeer and mashed potatoes. Oh, my God. That probably makes the worst vomit of all. What are they thinking? That's not...
Oh. That's the first time I've ever heard someone say that probably makes the worst vomit of all time. Oh boy! But let's take a second. Let's sidestep for a second away from vomit. And how much does the food somewhere? Again, this is tied to the theme park experience. How much does the food really enhance your experience when you go to a theme park or when you go to a ballpark or something like that?
100,000%. If I'm going and spending money and going to a place, whether it's to watch a baseball game or especially at a theme park, if I'm going to because at a theme park, that's a day. You're not just going to a ball game for a couple hours. You're going and spending an entire day or an entire honeymoon or an entire week, down at a theme park and experiencing it. If it's just a gray burger floating in water that they put on a stale bun, then it really takes the experience down.
I'm hungry now.
Right.
It really does, though. I mean, I feel, and that's why I think a Universal, is so good. They're not only putting out good food and multiple different types of food, throughout their theme parks, but they're listening to their patrons and like you said, like butterbeer took off. So now they're like, well, what are other unique things that we can make to make not only be tasty and delicious, but to make the entire experience like, oh my God, I love The Simpsons, and I can sit here and drink a Duff beer, and it's actually locally brewed and delicious. It's not watered down Coors Light or something, I mean, that's a really awesome experience.
Yeah, for me, it's giant turkey leg or bust. I don't care if you have to call it a griffin leg or whatever the hell you want to call it. Just give me that giant hunk of meat and make me feel like a Viking. That's
yeah.
Fantastic. A turkey leg and a Flamin' Moe. So if you like Simpsons, you got to check out the Flaming Moe as well.
I'm into it.
That's phenomenal. But yeah, it definitely enhances the experience, and the food here at Universal Orlando is second to none. We're going to send you guys some snacks from this lovely
send me a
place.
Turkey leg.
Is that okay? We'll overnight you.
It'd be so disgusting when we open it up.
No, just send it to me raw.
Okay. We'll cook it.
I'll cook it.
I got you.
Raw turkey legs. If everybody could just send raw turkey legs to Death Wish headquarters, that would be fantastic.
We'll take them. We'll take them.
And I was thinking too. They, in the mornings here when it's colder, they do the hot butter beer, and I'm like, hot butter beer. Well, maybe we'll get a little Death Wish spin, get J.K. Rowling in on the action, make us all rich. I think it sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
I heard Rich. I'm in.
All right, a Death Eater drinking Death Wish coffee. Done.
I love how you think of that. That's amazing. Let's do it.
It's what I do. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have to try all the amazing food and drink here at Universal Orlando. And please go to universalorlando.com right now and book your food-filled vacation. There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we've come to the end of another Pop 10. And again, this was episode 10. So now we can finally put together an episode with our favorites from each countdown. And this podcast would not have been possible and would not have been as entertaining at all without my buddies here from Fueled by Deathcast, the incredible Jeff, amazing D-Man. I can't thank you guys enough for joining me.
Yeah, man, this was so much fun. I had a blast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on. I don't want it to end.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? And pop culture is absolutely been my thing forever. I know you guys love it as well, and you've look at all the celebrities you've had on your show that we talked about. So keep doing what you're doing, because I'm a huge fan of not only Death Wish Coffee, of course, but Fueled by Deathcast, your podcast. So keep killing it.
Thanks, man. I really
you
appreciate
too.
that.
Yeah, I'm dying to get there. I'm dying to get to that studio, and when I do, I'll definitely I'll stop in and I'll bring some butterbeer and turkey legs, and it'll be a good time.
Can't wait.
Raw. Send it raw.
Raw. Send them raw. So where can everybody find you all and your podcast on the World Wide Webs?
Fueled by Deathcast lives directly on deathwishcoffee.com, but also you can find us wherever podcasts are found, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music. We also just got into the video game, so now we've got a lot of video up on our Death Wish Coffee Company YouTube channel, and we also are doing the top of every show, just started this, on Facebook Live, usually on Tuesday on the Death Wish Coffee Company Facebook page.
Which we found is a bit tricky because we got a lot of visual cues and a lot of sound bites. But Jeff and I are figuring it out, and it's coming around pretty nice. And I'm really proud of the product that we're presenting.
And if you want to follow either Dustin or myself, it's very easy. On most social media, Dustin is at DeathWishDustin, and I am at JeffWishCoffee.
Beautiful. And please do that. You will not be disappointed. The live feeds are absolutely phenomenal. So drink Death Wish Coffee. Go to deathwishcoffee.com right now and order yours. You will not regret it. And listen to these two fine gentlemen. And keep listening to the Pop 10 while you're at it, too. And this has been great. Guys, we have to podcast again sometime soon.
Yeah,
definitely.
This was so much fun, man.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to our first 10 episodes, and we're going to keep this train rolling next month with an all-new podcast. So for everybody here at Universal Orlando Resort and the Radio Broadcast Center, I'm Dave Solo, and we'll see you next time right here on the Pop 10.